The house was empty for years. After Whitney Houston's tragic death in 2012, her former home in Mendham Township, New Jersey, a sprawling, secluded estate nestled among trees and silence, sat quietly on the market. The once lively house, where music echoed through vaulted ceilings and laughter used to spill from private parties, was reduced to a ghost listing in local real estate circles. People claimed it felt strange, cold even in summer. Agents whispered about the energy of the place, but nothing they could write on paper. Then came Eric and Lana Morrows, a married couple in their early 40s from Connecticut. He was a software engineer, recently laid off from a tech firm. She was an art teacher trying to start over after a miscarriage that left her withdrawn and quiet. They didn't believe in ghosts or energy or history. They just wanted space, privacy, a new chapter. The house was priced below market value, and that made it feel like a miracle. "I can feel her presence," Lana said during the first tour, running her hand along the banister of the grand staircase. "Like she's still here. But it's not scary. It's sad." Eric laughed it off. "If Whitney's ghost is here, maybe she'll sing us to sleep." They signed the papers 3 weeks later. First, everything was peaceful. They moved in mid-autumn, when the trees outside the estate were golden and the nights came early. Lana began painting again in the sunroom, surrounded by windows. Eric worked on turning the basement into a recording space just for fun, he said. "Maybe I'll finally learn piano. In Whitney's house, how could you not?" But within the first 2 weeks, Lana began having trouble sleeping. "I keep hearing music," she whispered one night, "like someone humming from the walls." Eric checked the speakers, the attic, even the security system. Nothing. He chalked it up to dreams, stress, new environment. But then he started noticing things too. The bathroom sink turned on by itself around 3 a.m. 3 nights in a row. His toothbrush, left on the counter, would be on the floor in the mornings. Doors that had been locked would creak open in the middle of the night. Then, one evening, Lana showed him a painting she had finished. It was a portrait. A woman in a bathtub, eyes closed, face tilted back. The water was dark. "I didn't mean to paint this," she said, her hands trembling. "It just happened. I blacked out while working." Eric stared at it. The woman looked like Whitney. They started sleeping in the guest room. There was something wrong with the master suite. It was too cold, too dark. Even with the lights on, it never felt lit. Lana said it smelled like salt water, sometimes like a bathtub that hadn't been drained properly. One night, Eric found the tub half full. The drain was closed, the water warm. "No one used it," Lana said, standing in the doorway, shivering. "They called a plumber. He found no leaks, no plumbing issues. But if I'm being honest," the man added, "I'd get out of this house if I were you. Something's not right here." That night, Lana woke up screaming. She had dreamed of drowning. A woman had been holding her underwater, humming in her ear. It wasn't violent, it was mournful, like the woman didn't want to be alone. Eric set up cameras in the house. The footage was normal until 2:42 a.m. In the master bedroom, a faint silhouette passed by the window. But it was the second floor. No balcony, no tree. The turning point came when Eric sat down at the piano. It was a rainy Sunday. Lana was out with her sister. He'd never touched the thing since moving in. But on a whim, he tried to play. He had no sheet music, no training. Yet his fingers moved like they knew. A slow, mournful melody. Minor chords. A voice in his mind like lyrics half remembered. "Didn't we almost have it all?" He stopped. His hands wouldn't. They kept playing, trembling slightly. He felt his body shudder, as if something moved through him. His vision blurred. When Lana returned, she found him staring at the keys, silent. "I think she's here," he whispered. "Who?" "Whitney. She's stuck." They left the house that night and stayed at a hotel. Lana refused to go back. The Morrows moved out within 4 months of moving in. They never gave a full explanation. On paper, the listing now reads owner relocation, with no mention of the humming, the bathtub, the ghostly music, or the late-night whispers. But in private, Eric told one friend from his old tech job, It's not that she's angry. It's worse. She's heartbroken. That house still remembers her. It holds her, and it doesn't want to let go. As of now, the house is empty again. The blinds stay drawn. Some say they've seen lights on upstairs, late at night. A few neighbors have reported hearing faint music drifting through the trees. A woman's voice, alone, still singing. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. The Morrows didn't return, not in the way people normally return to something they've left behind. Their furniture was gone. Their clothes too. But a few things remained inside the house on 22N Gate Road. The upright piano Eric had become afraid to touch again. A small painting Lana left behind without realizing, and something else. Something neither of them could pack up or throw away. The house was still breathing. Winter came early that year. Thick clouds hung over the New Jersey hills like a warning, and snow clung to the bare trees like frostbite. By December, the estate looked abandoned again, isolated behind a rusted iron gate and a winding drive now crusted in icy leaves. The windows wore thin films of condensation, though the thermostat had been left on. Power was still running. Security lights flicked on and off with no rhythm, as though confused. Inside, the house waited. It was a cold Friday when Janet Flannery arrived. She wasn't there to live. She wasn't a buyer. She was just a stager, a real estate professional called in to prepare the home for a spring market relaunch. She had a clipboard, a thermos of coffee, and zero tolerance for ghost stories. "This is just another celebrity house," she muttered, stepping through the main entrance, boots crunching across the marble tile. "People make up all kinds of crap." She walked through the living room, pausing at the grand piano. The air around it felt heavier somehow, thicker. She ignored the slight shiver down her neck and jotted down "needs light curtains. Remove piano if client agrees." As she moved upstairs, the temperature dropped. The master suite was darker than the rest of the house, the shades drawn tight. The air smelled faintly of lavender, mixed with something metallic. Janet assumed it was the radiator. When she opened the bathroom door, she paused. The tub was full. Full. Not dripping. Not puddled. Filled halfway with dark, still water. She walked closer, frowning. The surface didn't reflect the room around it. It rippled faintly, as if disturbed just seconds earlier. There was no sound. No faucet running. Just the hush of an empty house. Then her phone buzzed, and she jumped. Unknown number. Just a text. No message, only a voicemail file. She played it, humming, low, melancholic. A woman's voice, like someone singing underwater. It lasted 12 seconds. She stopped it midway and closed the app. "Someone's playing a joke," she said aloud. But the lights flickered, and something moved behind the frosted glass of the shower door. She left within the hour, called the listing agent and said she wouldn't return. Said the house had a smell, an echo, a pulse. He rolled his eyes on the other end of the line, but said he'd send someone else. Nobody showed up. Not after that. It was January when a group of urban explorers, a trio of 20-somethings from Montclair, who called themselves suburban spelunkers, snuck in. They had heard the house belonged to Whitney once. They brought GoPros and thermal cameras. They uploaded everything to YouTube under the title The Starlet's Tomb. Most of the footage is dark, uneventful, but at 3:12 a.m., in the master bathroom, something happens. One of the guys, Brent, is filming the tub. It's dry at first, but then he lowers the camera for just a second, swearing at his light for flickering. When he lifts it again, the tub is half full. You can hear him whisper, "That wasn't like that before." Then, a faint sound, a single breath, picked up by the camera's mic. And then, someone behind him says, "Didn't we almost have it all?" But all three boys are visible in the shot. No one else is there. The video ends abruptly. Uploaded 3 weeks later. The channel has had no new content since. By early spring, the local real estate firm quietly removed the listing. No more agents came by. The lawn went unmowed. The mailbox overfilled. Whitney's estate, for legal reasons, refused to comment on any inquiries related to the property. Some said it was being sold privately. Others claimed it had become a quiet house, a term whispered among agents, referring to properties that nobody wants, but can't seem to stay empty. Locals began to notice something, too. Joggers on nearby Mendham Road reported hearing humming always in the early morning, always faint, like it was carried by wind through trees. Others claimed they saw lights turn on inside the house, even though the power had been shut off. One neighbor, a retired postman named Cliff, told the Daily Record in Morristown that he once saw a woman standing in the window above the front door. She was beautiful, long hair, just standing there, like she was waiting for someone to come home. When asked if he was sure it wasn't a reflection, he only said, "I delivered to that house when Whitney lived there. I know what she looked like. Inside the house now, time no longer moves the way it should. The piano sometimes plays a single note in the middle of the night. The bathtub fills itself and empties again, over and over. A music box left behind in one of the guest bedrooms turns on without being touched, playing a lullaby that no one can identify. And the master suite remains cold. There is something in the air. Not malevolent, not violent, just unbearably sad. Waiting, watching, longing." The dreams began again in late April. Lana Morrow had almost managed to forget the house. She and Eric were renting a condo in Westport, now clean, white walls, newer construction, no history, no ghosts. He had gone back to work, contract jobs mostly, and spent long hours in a co-working space downtown. Lana taught a ceramics class at a community center on Wednesdays and painted less than she used to. Something in her had gone dull. Or maybe something had been taken. But when the dreams started, she knew they weren't just dreams. They came slowly at first. Half glimpses. A hallway with sunlight pouring in through stained glass. A doorknob turning. The sound of soft humming notes rising and falling. The melody stretching just out of reach, like a memory of a song you once loved but couldn't name. Then, one night, she found herself standing in the master bathroom again. In the dream, the bathtub was full. Water perfectly still. Steam rising, delicate and slow. There was a woman in the tub. Not submerged. Not dead. Alive, watching. Eyes open. Beautiful and tragic. Her mouth opened but made no sound. And then Lana felt herself begin to cry. She woke up gasping. Her pillow was damp. She sat upright in bed, not daring to move for a while, her chest trembling. When she finally turned on the lamp, something caught her eye. The painting. The one she had left behind. But it wasn't the same one she remembered. The original, she was sure, had been unfinished, muted colors, soft outlines, more abstract than anything. But the one now resting on the bedroom wall was rich with detail. The woman's face clearer, her eyes darker, more human, and the water in the tub no longer black was glowing faintly blue, as if lit from below. Lana pressed her hands to her mouth. She hadn't brought that painting with her. She knew she hadn't. 2 days passed. Eric didn't notice the change in her at first. He was distracted, exhausted from work and trying to forget everything that had happened in New Jersey. When Lana finally told him about the dream, about the painting, about how she'd woken up with water on her hands, he froze. He didn't try to explain it away. Instead, he said quietly, "Sometimes I still hear her voice." Lana looked at him. He didn't meet her eyes. "Whitney's," he said. "She's not angry. She's not even trying to haunt us. But I don't think she ever left that house. And I don't think we did either. It wasn't a decision, really. Felt more like surrender." Lana returned to Mendham alone, on a bright morning that felt warmer than it should have for early May. She didn't tell Eric. He wouldn't have stopped her, but he might have followed her. And something told her this had to be her alone. The iron gates were open when she arrived. She parked the car just outside the drive and walked the rest of the way. The trees cast long shadows over the pavement. The windows, though clouded by months of weather, reflected her shape as she approached the front door. It opened before she touched the handle. The inside of the house smelled the same. A blend of lavender, old wood, and something wet, mineral-rich, like water left in pipes too long. She stepped in, her boots echoing across the stone floor. The light inside had shifted. It wasn't dim. It was deliberate, filtered through curtains she hadn't drawn. shaped by shadows that didn't match the furniture. It felt theatrical, like the house had been waiting for her arrival. The piano was uncovered. One key was pressed down and held there, as though someone invisible had laid a finger gently and never lifted it. A low note, humming faintly, without vibration. She didn't move toward it. Instead, she walked the hall in silence, her fingers grazing the wall as she passed the dining room, the sunroom, the staircase. Everything was exactly as they had left it, but also not. The air pulsed gently. Not wind, not breath, but something alive. When she reached the master suite, the door creaked open before her hand touched the knob. The room was brighter than it had ever been when she lived there. Sunlight poured in through the windows. The bed had been made. Someone had laid white sheets perfectly across it, tucked them at the corners. Fresh flowers, white lilies, stood in a crystal vase on the dresser. And in the bathroom, the tub was full again. Steam rose gently from the surface. But this time, no one was in it. Lana stepped to the edge. Her reflection was warped in the water's surface. Then something shimmered behind her, a figure, faint as mist, standing in the doorway. She didn't turn. Instead, she spoke softly. "You can't stay here forever." The air behind her shifted, not colder, just present. And then something she couldn't name moved through her. A feeling of being watched that softened into something else. Recognition, sadness, gratitude, then a voice, not outside her but within. A whisper, not spoken, but remembered. "I didn't want to be alone." Lana stayed in the house that night. Not to live, not to move back in. She brought no suitcase, no food, just a single folding chair, a blanket, and her sketchbook. She sat in the sunroom as dusk fell, listening to the house breathe, listening to the silence between notes. The piano never played again that night. But just before she drifted to sleep, she heard it barely audible from somewhere upstairs. A single line, hummed, delicate. "I have nothing, nothing, nothing," and then nothing. Lana didn't mean to stay. She thought she'd sleep a single night in the house on Northgate Road, pay respect, maybe offer some kind of closure, whatever that meant. But the next morning she couldn't bring herself to leave. She called Eric and told him the truth. He didn't raise his voice, didn't beg her to come home. He only said, "Are you staying for her or for you?" Lana didn't answer. She didn't know. The days passed slowly. Morning light slanted across the hardwood floors, revealing a thin sheen of dust that never thickened. The thermostat still worked. Somehow, the heat clicked on at night, though Lana never touched the controls. The house remained quiet. No footsteps, no piano keys, no water running. But it wasn't empty. It was never empty. Sometimes, Lana would sit in the sunroom for hours, watching the light shift across the window panes. And in those long silences, she would feel it the way a body feels a storm before it breaks. The weight of something moving through her. Not wind, not ghosts, not even grief. It was memory, living, breathing memory. She found herself humming, not on purpose. It would slip out of her on the stairs, in the kitchen, in the master bedroom as she folded the corners of the untouched bed. Just fragments, a line of a song, a breath between verses. She hadn't sung in years. One evening, just after dusk, the power went out. No thunder, no wind, just a sudden, blank silence. The lamps dimmed and died. The digital clock on the stove blinked and vanished. The house seemed to exhale all at once, as if it had been holding its breath since Lana returned. She lit candles, long white ones she found in the cupboard beneath the sink, and placed them throughout the main hallway. As the glow spread across the walls, she heard it again. The low vibration of a piano key being pressed. One note, held, then released, then another. And then, slowly, the melody began to form. Not loud, not forceful, but unmistakable. "I will always love you." Lana didn't move. Her breath caught in her throat. The notes were imperfect, hesitant, even, not like a ghost playing a trick. Like a person relearning how to speak after too long in silence. When the music stopped, Lana walked toward the piano. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the keys. The bench was empty. The lid was open. She sat, waited. The silence felt thick, like velvet. And then she played. Not well. Her fingers stumbled. But she remembered enough to follow the notes Whitney had once sung. When she finished, she didn't cry. She just sat there in the dark, listening, hoping. And then a whisper, "Thank you." That was the last time the house spoke. No more music after that night. No more voices. No shadows in the hallway. No figure in the master bath. The air grew still again, truly empty this time. Lana stayed a few more days. She painted the sunroom a soft blue, just as she'd always meant to. She took the painting from the bedroom and wrapped it in a towel, placing it gently in the trunk of her car. She left the piano uncovered. And then she locked the front door and drove away. The house was sold 6 months later. A young couple from Westchester bought it, unaware of its story. The listing didn't mention Whitney Houston's name. By then, the real estate agency had quietly buried the past. To them, it was just another property. Big, beautiful, and burdened by bad timing. The new owners moved in with optimism and furniture fresh from a showroom. They repainted the master suite, tore out the old marble tub, converted the sunroom into a gym, replaced the piano with a sleek coffee table made of glass. And for a while, the house was quiet again. But some nights when the wind cuts a certain way through the trees, people walking past swear they hear humming through the second-story window. A woman's voice, sweet and trembling, as if singing to herself. Just a few bars, then gone. Some homes aren't haunted by violence. Some spirits don't linger out of anger or revenge. Some places remember because love was once there. Love too big to contain, too beautiful to forget. And though Whitney Houston is gone, the house remembers her. The walls remember the way her voice filled them. And maybe that's not a haunting at all. Maybe that's a kind of grace. Maybe that's her way of saying, she never really left. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.